Michael thought he was just house-sitting while his mom was away on vacation. But the house wasn't empty. Every night, things went missing. A glass, a photo, a sound from the basement that wouldn't stop. Michael arrived on a Tuesday, the kind of gray Midwestern morning that smelled like old rain and resignation. The highway into town was lined with brown grass and skeletal trees, the same stretch of Kansas land he'd grown up despising and secretly missing. His mother had retired last month. 30 years of teaching third graders, 30 winters, of frozen driveways and boiler. Failures. She'd earned a little warmth. Florida with her friends, she said. Maybe the Keys. Somewhere the cold couldn't find her. She'd texted him before she left. "Thank you, honey. The house misses you." It was a strange choice of words, but then again, his mother had been saying strange things ever since the funeral last year. His father's funeral. Hunting accident. That's what they'd called it. Though no body had ever been recovered, the town seemed content to bury an empty box and a few good memories. Michael wasn't. Still, when Mom asked if he could house sit, it felt like something he owed her. So he made the drive. 3 states and 8 hours of cracked highway later, and there he was, home again. The house hadn't changed. Same low hum of the refrigerator, same creaky step in the hallway. It even smelled the same. Lavender cleaner, old carpet, a faint note of dust, and something like time. The cats greeted him first. 2 gray shadows with yellow eyes, brushing against his legs like ghosts that never left. He unpacked his laptop, set up on the dining table, and fell easily into the rhythm of remote work. The city felt far away now. The silence pressed against him like heavy curtains. At night he cooked simple dinners. Microwave lasagna, scrambled eggs, canned soup. Then he'd walk the hallway, glancing at the framed photos. His mom and dad on the porch, fishing trips, Christmas mornings. For a moment, he almost expected to hear the back door open and his father's voice booming, "Michael, grab me a beer, would you?" But that voice had been gone for a year. He told himself not to think about it, not here. On the 3rd day, something changed. A glass went missing. He remembered washing it, setting it in the cabinet above the sink. The next morning, it wasn't there. Then the photo frame in the hallway, the one with his parents on their honeymoon in Colorado, disappeared. He checked everywhere. Countertops, nightstands, even the trash can, nothing. Later, a dish towel vanished. Then a mug. He tried to laugh it off. The brain did weird things when surrounded by old memories. Maybe he was just forgetting where things went. Maybe the cats had knocked something over. But every night he locked the doors, checked the windows, made sure the back porch light was on. That's when the noises began. The first night it came from the vents, a faint tapping, like someone lightly drumming their fingers on metal. Then a scrape, sharp and quick, like something dragging across the inside. The next night it came from the basement, a dull thud, then silence. The cats hissed at the basement door, fur standing up like static. Michael froze on the landing, heart thumping hard enough to feel in his teeth. He waited, listened. Nothing but the house breathing its old, tired breaths. "Old pipes," he muttered. Maybe a raccoon. He wanted to believe that, but he didn't. By the 5th night, he hadn't slept more than a few hours in total. The noises were getting louder. He could swear he heard movement, slow, deliberate, beneath the floor. Directly under his bed, he lay there staring at the ceiling, too afraid to breathe. Every small sound felt amplified. The tick of the wall clock, the whine of the wind, and then the faintest creak of floorboards from below. That was it. He got up, grabbed his flashlight, and headed for the basement door. The cats bolted away, tails puffed. The basement light switch clicked, but only half the bulbs flickered to life. The air hit him like a wet towel, cold, damp, heavy with mildew. He descended the stairs, each step groaning under his weight. The basement looked the same as always. Shelves of dusty paint cans, boxes of Christmas decorations, a few old tools on a rusting workbench. But then he saw it. A pile of rotted wood and tarps stacked against the far wall. It looked wrong. Too deliberate, like someone had tried to hide something. He pulled them aside one by one until the wall behind them was exposed. That's when he saw the crack. It wasn't big, just a narrow split through the foundation, wide enough to fit his arm, maybe his shoulder if he turned sideways. The edges were jagged, blackened with damp mold, and the smell. It hit him so hard his knees almost buckled. A stench like rot and death, like a slaughterhouse left in the sun. He gagged, covering his mouth with his sleeve. "Jesus," he whispered, shining the flashlight inside. The beam cut through dust and cobwebs. The space beyond looked like a small crawl space, but deeper than it should have been, as if someone had dug into the earth beneath the house. Something glinted inside. Metal. He leaned closer, the smell clawing at his throat. The light caught a belt buckle, then fabric, then skin. Michael's heart stopped. There, slumped against the wall inside the hollow, was a body, or what was left of one. The skin was yellowed parchment stretched thin over bone. The jaw hung open, the teeth slick with something black. Eye sockets were hollow, filled with writhing maggots that pulsed and dripped. He didn't need to look twice to know who it was. The shirt, the belt, the small brass compass that hung from the man's neck. It was his father. Michael stumbled backward, flashlight trembling in his hand. He wanted to scream, but the sound caught somewhere in his chest. The world tilted. His stomach lurched. He dropped the light, the beam spinning crazily across the floor. "Dad," he whispered, though there was nothing human left to hear him. He turned and ran. His feet slipped on the concrete, crashing into boxes, his breath coming in ragged gasps. When he reached the stairs, he pulled out his phone, hands shaking so violently he almost dropped it. He hit Mom. It rang once, twice. And then, another phone rang. Not through the speaker. Inside the basement. The sound came from somewhere behind him on the other side of the crack. Michael froze. The air felt thick, suffocating. The ringtone echoed softly through the concrete walls, muffled but unmistakable. He turned, flashlight beam jittering. The smell was stronger now, almost alive. He took one shaky step closer. "Mom?" Nothing. Another buzz, another ring. He crouched down, trying to aim the light inside again. His hand was slick with sweat. That's when he saw it. The glow of a phone screen lying beside the corpse. His mother's phone. The name on it read Michael calling. And next to it, slumped over in the dirt, was his mother. Her skin was gray, her mouth frozen in a half-open gasp. Her eyes, God, her eyes were glassy and lifeless. Michael's knees gave out. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His hand flew to his mouth to keep from vomiting. The phone buzzed again, her cold fingers twitching slightly with the vibration, and then something moved behind her. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, a shadow shifting as the beam flickered. But then it stood up. A man. No, something that had once been a man. Tall, lanky, with hair hanging in greasy ropes. His skin was pale, almost translucent. And his eyes, those eyes yellow and bloodshot, wild with something between hunger and madness. He stared right at Michael through the crack, his lips stretching into a grin that was too wide, too wrong, cracked and bleeding at the edges. Then the creature bent down, picked up the phone from Michael's mother's hand and pressed it to his ear. He cleared his throat, coughed, and then, in a perfect imitation of her voice, said softly, "Hello, Michael." The flashlight slipped from his hand. It hit the floor and rolled, light slicing across the walls. Michael couldn't move. His mind was screaming, but his body refused to listen. The man stepped closer, his head cocking to one side, smile trembling with laughter that didn't sound human. "Welcome home," he said. Then he lunged. Michael turned to run, but the light died, plunging the basement into darkness so thick it felt like water. The last thing he heard was the sound of footsteps, wet, heavy on racing toward him. And then the laughter. It started as a chuckle, then rose into something broken, echoing through the house. When the neighbors called the police the next morning, they found the front door wide open, cats mewling on the porch. The house smelled like rot. Down in the basement, the crack in the foundation had been sealed shut with fresh cement, and somewhere deep within that wall, a phone buzzed once more. "Welcome home,"